Well, hello everyone. How are
Hello.
you?
Guten Tag,
That's German, right?
technically.
It's
What
Australian.
do you mean technically?
Because the way I pronounce it probably doesn't sound right.
Oh,
fair.
that's what you mean. Okay.
I'm certain that my Texas accent doesn't actually fit that.
Guten Tag, y'all.
Oh my gosh.
Konnichiwa.
I can
Oh.
say Guten Tag.
Aloha.
Como estas?
Oh, please
Wow.
stop. Please stop. It hurts. It hurts us.
True story. We had this place, a local place. I say local, it's a chain, and I'm not gonna name them, but they say a particular Mexican food wrong, and it drives me nuts. And they've literally named the entire company.
It's
Off of Miss
quesadilla,
Commercial.
isn't it?
Yes.
Because I know
Like-
of Napoleon Dynamite.
That's how they pronounce it. Like that's the name of the store is Quesadilla.
They call it Dilla.
Dilla's is the name of the restaurant.
That sounds just gross.
They were replacing my favorite place, which is, of course, Taco Bueno.
Of course.
And I was like, okay, we'll try this Diaz.
It's not
It's
Diaz.
not Diaz. It's Dilla's.
You.
And you walk in, and it's straight up Napoleon Dynamite's on the walls. I'm like, I don't know.
No.
But the biggest troll.
Does anyone really like Napoleon Dynamite that much?
No, but I'm
I mean,
gonna
I
say this.
like the movie, but not that much.
I am
didn't even
so
like the movie.
proud of the troll game that Celeste runs when she has
Oh,
when
yeah.
we go in there.
Oh yeah. It's good.
Celeste is next level trolling. She
It's
walks
yum.
in, she asks for the vegetarian quesadilla and asks them to fill it up with beef.
I do. Because and it's not intentionally a troll.
Oh.
It's they
It's a
have
troll.
I mean it is. But they have a quesadilla that they have spinach and mozzarella cheese and mushrooms in
Mhm.
it.
This
so the
doesn't
first-
sound Mexican.
Oh God, no, it's
It's
not.
Dilla's.
It's Dilla's, not Diaz. And so I was
It's
like,
It's not even
oh,
Dio.
true, very true.
Dio.
Except it's not.
We need a restaurant called Dio's.
Okay, but it's really good. But as I was eating it, I didn't realize it was the vegetarian one, and I was like, man, this is good, but where's the meat?
Where's the meat?
Ah, I see.
Ah.
And so,
So-
then,
Wait. Were you asking where's the beef?
yes. So now I
I'd
go
go and
in
got
and
my
I go,
joke.
hey, can I get it's the like blue bonnet? Can I get the blue bonnet? Add steak.
And they look at
So-
her so weird.
They do.
Do they make the beef hot?
Are you
Yes.
asking? Do they cook the
Like they
beef?
cook it? Yes. And do they serve it hot?
Yes.
So something that's dropped like it's hot today is from James Gunn. Paul, or not Paul. You're not my co-host.
I am not
He's
Paul.
not here. Drew. Why don't you start this
Best segue.
culture box
So
conversation? Hey, you know what? I do my best here with what I have
So
to work
good.
with.
So good.
Why don't you kick us off, Drew?
Primo.
Primo Donna.
Hey, welcome to Culture Box.
Yeah, welcome
Oh,
to
yeah,
Culture
welcome.
Box.
Hello.
I'm
everyone.
Drew. That weirdo over there is Roy, and Dallas and Celeste are down there.
Hello.
Francisco. It's in the title right here.
Yes,
He even
Francisco
had-
Ruiz.
Tattoo.
No one knows what you're talking about, Dallas.
We have pictures.
I can get that picture right quick.
Ice skating picture too.
You're the one that uploaded it to Discord, Francisco.
The Discord we all can get to.
Because you
You-
barbarians wanted it. That's why.
Look, Francisco.
I was
we
trying to
have-
just try
we
to
have-
fend off the barbarian horde. That's why I was
This is
trying
the
to
deal,
do.
Francisco. We have wiped your origin story completely. It's starting brand new, like what James Gunn has done with
Yes.
the DC universe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
does
yeah.
Have you
fit.
heard about
What's
that?
going
I feel like Drew knows something about it.
I know
Yeah, probably.
something about it.
Francisco's origin story or James Gunn?
Both.
Once upon a time, James Gunn was born in some town somewhere.
And he has a Francisco Ruiz tattoo on his back.
I just want to know Whose body is that? Because that's not Francisco.
No, it's not Francisco.
What? I can't have a very sleek.
Dividend?
I just feel like you're hairier than that.
Like, your neck. Like, that doesn't
I
work.
can look. It kind of works.
I gotta get this
Again,
off
I
my
just feel like
screen
you're
before
hairier than that. Unless you had Ashley shave
makes
your
my eyes
back.
burn.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Anyway,
off topic. James Gunn. I bet he doesn't shave his back.
probably
I
not.
bet he doesn't either.
Probably not.
Especially not to put a Mickey Mouse tattoo back there.
No, that seems like way too much work.
Maybe Bugs
He
Bunny.
he doesn't work for the
Guardians
mouse
of the
anymore
Galaxy.
anyway.
He-
So
Guardians of the
he does
Galaxy.
still have one movie.
oh yeah, that's right.
There is one more Guardians movie coming out. But yeah, he is starting. He and I can't remember the other guy's name. Are the new heads of DC
Yeah.
now, and they today announced what movies, the first batch of movies and TV shows. that
Yeah.
they're doing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, I want to
There's-
say this. His announcement, he did say that he's not scrapping a few of them. They're keeping Blue Beetle, Flash, and I forgot what the third one was. Shazam.
Shazam.
Shazam. Yeah.
That
yeah.
makes
Those are-
sense.
They're
Those
all
are active.
folding into the whole thing. And
And then
Flash
I
is
guess
going
an
to reboot
animated
it.
series also is gonna be it sounded like that animated series, I forget what it was called, was already being made as well that he wrote.
Oh,
I think that they are making everything a part of the universe.
That makes sense. Although
Like-
the Matt Reeves Batman is still going to be separate.
Yeah.
Yes, and
But,
the Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix one.
when
yeah,
I
yeah.
say
That's
everything,
not Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry.
you're thinking.
I'm
of the
sorry,
wrong
River Phoenix.
brother.
Wait, he died.
I went all the way back to
Jack Nicholson.
Heath Ledger. All the
Oh,
way back to Heath Ledger. Thinking,
Oh,
that's
wow.
not him. He's dead. Oh wait, no wait. I'm
Caesar
thinking of the wrong
Romero,
person.
right?
Yes,
Yeah,
Caesar Romero.
yeah, Caesar Romero.
With his painted over mustache.
exactly.
So, no, but what I meant by that was that they're including all of the animated. So
Yes.
anything that comes out is going to be in the universe.
Exactly.
So
And
like
it-
Marvel.
Yeah. Or like Star Wars.
Well, and the thing is, even his announcement, there's going to be tie-ins also into the comics.
That's interesting, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I posted the rundown, the link in chat, which then got modded because apparently I'm not trustworthy in the Cellcast channel. But
Let me look into that.
I'm gonna share real quick my screen if I may. If I may.
Go right
If I
ahead.
may.
as long as
Okay.
it's not your back.
Which, by the way,
gosh.
Ashley's confirmed that picture
That's not
was
your back.
too barren of hair. To be
Okay, we're not
Francisco.
talking about backs right now. Anyway, so yeah, the series that are coming out from James Gunn or from DC will be Creature Commandos, which is a animated series, I believe. Waller, which will have Viola Davis back, and that'll be like bridging between I forget what's the
Suicide Squad.
Both Suicide Squad.
well,
movies.
Suicide Squad and
Peacemaker,
Peacemaker.
yeah.
Which
I didn't watch Peacemaker.
Superman
Don't.
Legacy, which is where's the hubbub where Henry Cavill will not be Superman. They don't know who will be yet, but
Mhm.
he's not going to be in Superman Legacy. Lanterns, which this is the one that I
I'm
actually got the
excited.
most excited about.
intrigued
Lanterns.
by
Yeah.
that one.
This they're like detective story, but Green Lanterns. They're like
Mhm.
sheriffs of Earth. I thought that was really cool. The Authority, I had no idea what that is. It's a passion project. Great. I don't care about your passions, Jason. Wait, what's your name again? James. James Gunn? Yes, that's you. Not
Yeah,
Jason.
Jimmy.
Paradise Lost, which is supposed to be like Game of Thrones, but on
It's
Wonder
basically
Woman's place?
it's the land of Themyscira. It's basically going to be like
Yeah.
what's taking place there, which I think is an interesting take. I don't
Yeah.
think there's a lot of stories that have done that necessarily.
Mhm.
I'll be intrigued.
yeah,
to see,
Game of Thrones hasn't done that. A Game of Thrones at all.
I'll be intrigued to see if they follow the Wonder Woman comics, because in the Wonder
Oh.
Woman comics, Diana has never actually been back to Themyscira.
Right?
Oh, really? Oh, I
There
didn't
is
know
no
that.
way. Everything was all how do I say it? It wasn't a dream, but it was all an illusion to make her
Okay.
think she
Whoops.
had
yeah.
been back to Themyscira.
Now, in the announcement
Gotcha.
that James Gunn gave, he said that one of his big things is he wants to. It's all about storytelling, and so basically, he's not going to tell terrible stories. That they will work harder to make sure these are quality stories, but that are also honoring the original source material,
Mhm.
which makes me wonder how much is pulling from the comics.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good point.
But again, he's also saying that things will carry over into the comics. So is he just going to, are we just rewriting the entire universe? Which, to be honest, right now in comic world, ready to just nuke all of the DC universe.
I mean,
Oh, really? Has it gotten that bad?
It's just not good
Yeah.
storytelling.
eh,
Yeah, there's some iffy parts.
Mm-hmm.
it's not. It's enough that it doesn't make me want to go buy all of the
Like,
comics.
and it's not like,
Yeah.
and this isn't a left right type of thing. Like I'm talking about people across the board are just tired of DC and Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, yeah.
there's questions as to whether or not they're going to last the next 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In fact,
I actually question that myself.
they said that there are major creators who have done work for DC and Marvel in the last 2 years that still haven't gotten paid.
Jeez, seriously?
Mhm.
That's ridiculous.
So I don't know. We don't have a news source for that. We have acquaintances who have passed on that information.
And
That
their
are in the
names
business.
That are in the business.
Let's
I'm
get them
sorry?
on the record. What's their names?
They're anonymous sources that have inside knowledge.
Oh, fine. Yeah, and then there are a few others that are coming out. Swamp Thing was another one.
I'm
Supergirl.
excited about this.
I'm
I
actually
like-
interested in Swamp Thing.
I liked the Swamp Thing show, so part of me is sad that they're ignoring that, but at the
Mhm.
same time they're making something new, so maybe it'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It was a
Yeah.
good show though.
What do you guys think of this aspect that James Gunn's trying to emulate the MCU in that he wants all these stories to be in a under the same sort of cohesive banner, like they all will fit together in some way. They may be tonally different, but they'll all be part of the same. They will affect each other. How do you guys feel about that?
This was what I've been wanting from DC from the very beginning.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Honestly, I think it's a smart move because people are getting tired of. We've grown so accustomed to the way Marvel does things, in that everything is connected.
Mhm.
That
Okay. Mhm.
when you do something the same in the same genres, people are expecting that, and then they're disappointed when it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I thought they're trying to kind of do that with the Snyderverse, and then that sort of went away. But I'm not as familiar with the DC movies.
Yeah.
The last DC movie I watched, well, I watched Shazam, and I've watched Aquaman, but really and I've seen Wonder Woman. I've seen a few DC movies.
You've seen all but two, it sounds like,
So the thing about
of the
it,
Snyderverse section.
the Snyderverse was supposed to be a launching thing. It was supposed to be that, but
Yeah.
because of what happened with Batman v Superman, that whole project just came crashing to the ground, and they never were able to recover it.
Wait, wasn't it
the
Justice League?
Yeah,
It
You
start-
said Batman v
I'm sorry,
Superman.
you're right. I apologize.
Okay.
It was the Justice League.
Yeah.
But even with the release of the Snyder Cut, and which people are like, "Hey, we want this,"
Mhm.
DC was under so much hot water already. In fact, they they greenlit movies that weren't good to go.
Mhm.
They came out today saying one of the executives saying that the Batgirl movie that they greenlit, they purposely crashed because they were looking at it, they're like, this is actually a terrible movie, and this would have actually hurt DC in the long run than help it. And so they have to do a fresh reboot if they're going to have a lasting story.
Yeah.
But it is kind of this playoff, like used to, we were hyped about certain things, and it's because you could tell that there was time that went into these projects and they played out, and they were a passion project that people were working on. It's just a money machine for them right now. They're just like, let's just pump stuff out, call it done. My hope is that James Gunn has enough respect for the culture and the storylines that he builds true. Like, and again, he said, I'm concerned about good stories, which is what we want.
Yeah.
We want good stories of these
Yeah.
characters that we love, and my hope is that he honors that.
Yeah.
At the same time, we've been burned so much by DC.
Sure.
And starting actually, I mean, this past phase 4 of Marvel really wasn't that great.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was horrible. Horrible. I'll say
feel-
it. I don't care. I'll say
I
it.
feel like
Yeah, you feel like you can say it because you haven't probably watched any of it.
It doesn't matter. I know it just on trailers
You
alone. I
just-
know.
You just hate it, Roy.
I have a
because it's
great
Disney.
sense for these things, and I know they're not. They're corrupt to their core.
Only because
You agree with me, chat, don't you? I'm sure the chat agrees with me.
Mm-hmm. Paladin Pirate brings up an interesting aspect. Where
Francisco's right, I think is what he said.
no, that's not what he
No.
said.
Oh.
Don't
that
put
they
words in our
tried to
viewers' mouths.
they tried to do this with the Arrowverse, which is true, but I don't
Oh, did
know
they?
Yeah.
how much
It
they
was-
actually it was DC inspired as much it was CW was trying to get everybody to watch different things, like basically cue other shows.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I mean, but though in a way, it sounds like it's gonna they're trying to drive other people to keep wanting to see the next DC movie. I think here's my concern with this, and then I'm okay, and then I think this will tie it into a spiritual dynamic. This is something that another Culture Box member, Nathan James Norman, had said to me a while ago. Was when you're writing a story, if you write with the end in mind, you will always write true.
Right.
And so that just hit me at the right time in the right place. That really impacted me. And you hear something and you just it's burned into your memory. So that's one of those things. And I think when you take Marvel phase 1 and 2, particularly, I guess phase 3 also to some extent, they knew they were it seems they were shooting for Infinity War and Endgame. That's what everything was leading to. Once Iron Man has its success, okay, we're going to build toward this thing.
Yeah.
And everyone was so invested in that, and you wanted to see what would happen next. You wanted to turn the next chapter. And I think there's, I mean, I was someone that actually enjoyed Endgame. I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, Infinity War is so much better." I thought Infinity War was just meh.
I liked both.
You like both? Yeah, they were both good. I thought Endgame was a good sort of cap off. I think it would have been great to have ended there. From what I've seen,
they
of
should have
phase,
taken a 2-year break after Endgame.
Yeah.
sure.
It
But
took
what-
a year and a half.
No, I don't think they did, because didn't WandaVision come out right after that, pretty much?
It was a year and a half because for a year it was COVID.
So they
It was
would have put it out.
unintentional.
They would have put it out.
Black Widow would have come out.
Black Widow was going to come out in 2020.
2 months later.
Yeah. So
And so they really should have taken a whole nother year of a break. In all honesty, in
Yeah.
planning, because I think they tried, and I don't think they should cram so many particular projects into this short amount of time they have. It's 2 years for what, 10 was it 10 movies now, and then 8
a
television
lot.
shows.
Yeah.
That's
It's a lot.
ridiculous.
It's a lot.
that's so much that people have to keep up with.
Well-
And
Yeah.
And it also, I think they kind of lost momentum
Mhm.
because everything was kind of building up to Endgame and Infinity War. But now it seems like there's nothing building up except for world building. It's almost like the first several phases that they had were the first movie, and now we're in the second movie that's always terrible.
Yeah.
Following the trilogy.
Right.
Yeah. Paladin
You know
brings a great point, though, that
Oh.
Iron Man was not created to have a next movie.
Yeah,
That's true.
but they certainly were able to see that success, and I feel like they built off that. They took Robert Downey Jr. was great as Iron Man. Let's make another Iron Man 2, and let's see if we can expand this universe further. And I think
Sure.
I think they did that well, and they seemed to take care of that. They weren't trying to.
Fantastic.
They didn't now we got to pump out 10 movies next year to capitalize on this. No, it's another movie,
They
and
took their time.
yeah, they took their time. And someone else that probably didn't have to take their time in crafting, he's in a way he did, I suppose. But if you look at the Bible and how this whole story, this whole idea of trying to make all these stories cohesive and point to something, it's amazing how God used so many different individuals over the course of thousands of years to write the Bible, and they all point to the cross, essentially, Jesus dying. They either point forward to that or they look back to it, and then a little bit at the end toward his coming back. And so, do you think that there's an element of all of us who are storytellers in a way, or even all of us who enjoy story, that we want to see our stories have this sort of cohesive gel to it, or do you think that's I'm seeing it reading too much into that?
I think that people as a whole like things to follow a set line. They like things to make sense. They like things to go in a way that they can track easily. The problem is, what I see with the problem with your statement is, I don't think it's necessarily because of the way God orchestrated things. I think that it's because he gave us a love for stories. It's just something naturally in us because that's how he taught us.
So then why don't we love every story? Like, why are there some stories like, for instance, that one movie I saw from Phase 4 of Marvel, you know the one. Why did that fall flat?
You're gonna have to be more specific.
You know, that one, probably all of them. Pick any of them. They all fell flat. So
Actually, a couple of them I thought were good. So be more specific.
Okay,
Are
fine.
you asking why do we think some stories are good and some aren't?
Or
Well,
why some people like some
if
things
we're-
and the others don't.
if we're geared for enjoying story, is there an element? Why don't all stories impact us?
I think
Hit us well. Yeah.
I think
guess.
because it's a matter of who we are as individuals. We all have things that we like and we don't like, and with our personal experiences, there are things we gravitate to and things we don't. There are some people that they love movies that are just like sappy and happy, and like, there's a couple that just lives together and they die holding each other's hands, and they're like, I love these movies, and they watch every one of them and cry for no good reason. And then there are those who are like, that's boring, and then they prefer movies where they're going out and shooting up the enemy and blowing up giant spaceships and conquering planets. And again, I think that when you dive into a person's life and then you ask them what they enjoy, the stories they gravitate to, I think to a degree will reflect what's happened in their lives, the things that they look for. There are people who they love these romances because part of them are looking for that. Or some of them, it connects back to there was a connection they have or they have had, and they see that. Something very silly. There was the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series, and there were two characters that was kind of nerdy, and I'm about to tell on Celeste
You
here.
are.
That they were
You can see the glare.
so close to coming together, but they kept getting separated. There was one point where they were completely separated, and it affected Celeste in a deep way because when she watched them, she saw her and I in these characters.
Oh.
And so, and that's a thing, and so I think that again, storytelling. There is good storytelling. There's trash storytelling. But then there's storytelling that connects because you have a connection to it.
Yeah.
That's the reason why, like our show, The Bottom Shelf, right now throughout the year, we're doing what we call guilty pleasures, which are the movies that we know are not good, but for some reason we love them. We care about them. And again, they're not good stories. They're terribly done, but there's a connection to them, and it's okay. And so I think that's hopefully that answers your question.
I think so. Yeah, I think where I is sort of going with that, but we need to switch to the next story here. But I'm sort of to wrap up. I'm curious. Let's end with this. Do you have a story from the Bible that you always love reading or always like going back to and seeing what else God has to say to you in it? Like you guys were saying, I imagine there's some elements, some stories from the Bible. It's like, yeah, that doesn't really connect with me at all. I mean, I know it's good for teaching and for rebuke and all that. But I'm not gonna go out of my way to study it. And other stories where it's like, oh man, I want to live in God's word here again. So like, Drew, do you have a favorite Bible story?
It's gonna sound horribly Sunday school, but David and Goliath.
Jesus. Oh, okay.
David and Goliath actually is one of my favorites. Actually,
That's a good nice.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that is a good one. Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
No.
Not in the Bible.
No. He was answering the
He was answering
other
another
question.
He was answering another question. Kevin Joshua Burnham said Jonah.
Oh, okay, nice. That's a good one.
Dale
So-
says story of Joseph in Genesis.
Oh, okay,
Oh, yeah.
nice. Life of Hezekiah. What I forget what did Hezekiah do? Oh
He
no, wait,
was-
that was one of the kings, right? That
He was the
found
last
the
king of
Torah.
Israel.
Was he the one that found the Torah? Like,
No,
had
that's
been...
Josiah.
Oh, okay, okay. I was
Hezekiah
getting
was the one
confused.
was the last one of Israel before it got conquered.
Gotcha. Okay, okay.
One of the many times.
For
the
me,
first time.
for me, I love the story of where the people are in the desert. I believe it's in Numbers. The Israelites are in the desert, and God sends all these snakes into their encampment, and they're getting bent. And he says to Moses, "I want you to make a bronze snake, put it up on
Oh,
a
yeah.
tall stick, and raise it up, and tell the people anyone that looks at the snake will be healed." And I just love how that foreshadows Christ and how everyone who looks up on him will be healed and or will be saved. It's just I love that so much.
Yeah.
Dallas and Celeste, how about you guys?
I have one, and it's not necessarily one that I come back to, but it's one that I like to mention and I like to think about, and it's actually my favorite woman in the Bible.
Oh, okay.
Her name's Jael, and she killed an enemy king because her family had a treaty with him, even though he was not on good terms with Israel. And what it was is that the leader, the general of Israel, had told Deborah he wasn't going to fight without Deborah coming, even though Deborah was like, "No, I'm not going to fight." So Deborah goes, "Okay, well, I'll go with you, but you won't get to do it. It's going to go to a woman."
Oh
And
yeah.
so this
that's right.
guy goes to this tent maker's tent that he had an alliance with, and he goes, "Hide me." And she goes, "Okay, come in, eat, sleep." He falls asleep. She shoves a tent peg through his brain.
Nailed him.
Literally. Literally. It's interesting.
Ironically, we've been going through that in the singles Bible study, and every time they
nice.
mention that, I just say nailed him.
Well,
It's-
while he was dreaming, was he saying, "I'm a king on the wind"? Watch
No.
me. Oh.
So it's one of those stories that it's not terribly well known, but it also shows a lot because Jael had to go against a agreement that her household had with this person. But she also wasn't part of the war. She was doing what she was supposed to do. She was home. She was making tents and doing all of the wifey things that you do, the making the bread and the grinding and
Yeah.
the washing and all of that. And then she, because she was doing what she was supposed to be doing, she had the opportunity to do something greater.
That's awesome. And then she goes on to be like Superman's mom, right?
No,
No.
Raise. Oh
it's not connected like that.
no,
wrong,
Isn't
wrong DC universe.
Wrong
Yes.
DC universe.
Oh, that's Jor-El, and that's the dad. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, Jor-El.
I guess I need James Gunn to connect these things for me. Okay.
Yes, yes. What about you, babe?
Oh yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things I go to. I go often to the story of Shama, which I think we talked about on Retro Rewind once
Maybe.
a while back. But Shama was he was one of David's mighty men, and he was in charge of protecting a bean field.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, one paragraph. That's all he did is dude stood in a bean field and he guarded it with his life because it was important to the king. And I like about that because there's so many things that there are things that God's put in my heart that are important to me that most people
Yeah.
go, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, what's the
Oh.
point of that? And I'm just like, it's important to the king.
Mhm.
So I'm
Yep.
going to do it. you know?
Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
that's one of the things I go to often. Another thing I go to is actually a psalm. It's Psalm 121.
Mhm.
And I specifically like it in the Tree of Life version. Not the Tree of Life, but the complete Jewish version Bible. And it says that it describes God as your guardian. It says your guardian will never leave you. Your guardian's always beside you. And I've been through some rough times where that verse is that chapter is what kept me going.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
That's awesome. Drew, what's next for us?
Next, if I can get this switched over. Well, we were talking about how, the DC universe is going to be crafted into something new. There was something that was recently crafted and got an entire company in trouble.
This
Dun, dun,
segue.
dun. That's
This
trying to
segue.
segue.
That's
I tried
impressive.
to segue.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna clap for you. That was a segue, ladies and gentlemen. Mall Cop of the Year.
Who wants to talk about the D&D OGL?
Nobody really cares about. That's a boring story, right?
I will.
John's having a heart attack in the chat right now.
He's also accusing you of liking the Passion Translation, which that's a discussion for
Wait,
another day.
Is the Jewish translation the Passion Translation?
No.
No.
One
Well,
is
'cause that's what I
biblical,
thought-
one is not.
Dallas,
Okay. Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about right now.
Save that for your Bible versions
Yeah.
tier stream you said you were going to do.
So, Wizards of the Coast is in hot water right now with their fans.
And you thought DC fans were angry.
Ooh.
Did they drop it like it's hot, like James Gunn with this? Oh, we did that.
They dropped something, all right.
On their
and,
foot.
and very heavy and very squishy.
Yes.
I've seen the size of D&D books.
It's true.
Wow.
It's true. So what happened is Wizards of the Coast is the company that owns Dungeons and Dragons. They own
Mhm.
the rights to it. Also,
And Hasbro owns them.
yes,
Yes.
Hasbro owns
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and then they also own Magic the Gathering.
Mhm.
Just to throw that group in there because they stay angry,
They do.
and so it doesn't take a lot to
Broke.
get it.
They
So it was leaked that they were looking at changing their OGL, their Open
Mhm.
Gaming License, to basically penalize creators who create things and also making it to where they could take funds from people who do source books that are based on D&D but not D&D.
Yeah.
So, and Paladin Pirate does bring up a good point. By the time that we brought up this conversation, because we had talked about this several updates ago,
Right.
they have retracted it, but only because everybody went, what?
Like, it was crazy.
It was bad.
It,
Yeah.
it
So-
got bad enough people were unsubscribing from D&D Beyond.
Which is
is
their
like
main
the-
source of income at the
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah. Because who
Like-
buys
Wow.
books anymore?
It
I'm saying this sarcastically. I hope
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
understand.
Oh yes, we do. But it's interesting because they said a couple things. They said they were always going to solicit advice, but it kind of just feels like they were like, we're going to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were like, oh, people don't like it. Oh, people
Yeah.
are canceling. Oh, this is
pe-
bad.
Oh, you mean people the normal Joe Schmo player actually cares about all these other people this much?
Well,
So I have a feeling that's kind of what it was. It's like, oh, the normal players don't care about all these third-party people, which is ridiculous because, of course, we care about the people we are
Yeah.
intentionally buying stuff from.
Yeah.
Well, and what's crazy, and it's actually, I think it's going to be a good thing for the gaming community as a
Mhm.
whole, because not necessarily as much with Magic the Gathering, but with D&D, you have all of these indie creators that are coming up with things. There's a couple of companies who aren't necessarily indie. They're not Wizards of the Coast, but they're more well-to-do.
Mhm.
They're more known, like the creators of Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm.
Paizo.
They are releasing a open system, just hey, here's a way to play, do what you want with it in response to this.
I
Mhm.
love how the abbreviation, though, for Paizo system spells orc.
Oh, really? That's fun.
That's funny.
So, but
Yeah.
it's interesting.
It really did blow up pretty. And part of the problem was that it wasn't just a matter of like, hey, anything new that you guys create using our ideas, our IP, you got to pay us for.
Mhm.
But it was actually going to retroactively change everything
Mhm.
created beforehand. And so if somebody had created, let's say Francisco, you created a D&D campaign that then you were selling it out.
As I want to do, yeah.
Yeah, you would have to pay them money.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the right to go, hey, we really like the story you came up with, Francisco.
It's ours now.
We own it.
Yeah.
It's ours, period.
Well, it's like there's a I haven't read the books yet because I just haven't gotten to them yet. But there is a D&D dungeon master who wrote out his campaigns, and it's the very well known, and they're books, and they garner interest into D&D. But to my knowledge, D&D does not have the rights to that. So anytime any books that you have that you go, hey, this was my campaign, they can go, oh, we like that. So now we own it. We can do what we want with it.
Mhm.
Yeah. It doesn't. So I'm not as familiar with all of this. I did sort of like a crash course today to sort of prep for tonight, and so
And you did not know what minefield you were stepping into, did you?
Yeah, I didn't. So I may not be getting some of these facts straight, but from what I've heard and how I synthesize things is like this. Dungeons and Dragons, very popular for a very long time. They had this open game license so that everyone, like you said, could not, like, for instance, they couldn't use the term Mind Flayer, but they could use like magic systems and things like that if you're wanting to create a system based on Dungeons and Dragons. There's something like that. That's what the original open gaming license was. And then now this new one says, well, now you can't use all that, or if you do use it, you have to pay us royalties or what have you. So it's almost like, okay, why did that happen? Well, the analysis I've heard is that Hasbro, who owns Wizard of the Coast, WotC, as John likes to say, said, hey, we're not making much money. Oh, this was with this Dungeons and Dragons thing. We're not capitalizing on all the money we could be getting from that. Let's now that it has such a wide fan base, let's now start charging money to make money from it. And it really reminded me of what happened with Disney Star Wars. There's all these fans that love Star Wars. Let's make something completely new that's for the new people that disregards the old fans in a lot of ways. Not saying every single way, not saying that there aren't good elements to the new Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, except I'm kidding. There are some good elements, but it seemed like it is all like, oh, there's this huge fan base. You know what? Let's crap all over them now, and because we want more money from a new fan base or something like that.
Not really. Yes and no.
I think it's exactly like
not
that.
A perfect analogy. Because the fact that, like, what happened with it is, it's literally as Hasbro's going, we're going to milk you for your money, and we're going to take away your rights that you had already with the stuff you've already created.
Yeah.
Whereas Disney's like, hey, you like Star Wars, so we're going to put out stuff that's Star Wars. We're going to tell stories. We're going to tell original stories. We're not charging you more. We're not penalizing you for liking what you used to like.
And by all technical accounts, we're not literally throwing it away where you can't get to it anymore. You can still go watch all the old stuff.
That's
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. There is definitely a departure from that.
Unless you're talking about the original cuts of the original trilogy.
But that's more George Lucas's fault. I don't blame Disney for that. So
I'll say this.
Disney could reverse that.
Yeah. I think the problem is less WotC, which I know everyone's jumping on it because they're the original parent company. They're people we see. But this is more of a problem with Hasbro. Hasbro is they're dying. They are a sinking ship. They started dying literally since they did the Battleship movie. Literally, that was the point that they were trailing down.
Oh wow! Okay.
They sunk their battleship, and it's just been a bad day for them ever since. But the Magic the Gathering community has been annoyed as all get out because Hasbro keeps forcing Magic the Gathering stuff to be cheaper, more stuff being put out. They're rushing cards out so quickly that they're having to ban cards because they're just broken. They break the games.
Oh wow! Really? Okay.
They put out this series of special of foil cards that you should be able to get, and they started doing this thing called Pringling, where they just curved up like a Pringle, which makes it illegal for you to use in tournaments
because you can then tell what card that is,
and its value is now trashed.
Yep.
And so
gosh.
people are, again, Hasbro or WotC has definitely they've made mistakes, but they are simply responding to their authority,
Yeah.
which is Hasbro, who has zero care about their fan base, about the people that the properties they actually own. They're trying to make money, and that's really where this comes down. It's from the top down,
Yeah.
and which can kind of go into our conversation, our spiritual conversation about the aspect of where things end up on often comes from the top down. You know, we say follow the money, but it's really a matter of authority, and what your authority says up here, it'll trickle down, the good and the bad. And that's the reason why we have to, when we lead things, we have to be careful. I have to be very careful at leading our Geek Devotions team, and how I speak to them, how I encourage them. Today I had to work with a couple of my writers about some of the stuff they submitted to us for the website, and going, hey, this was good. This is a little messy. I don't quite understand. Help me out with this. Hey, this I see what you're saying here, but let's rework this wording for this. And I'm not necessarily, it's not kid gloves, but I'm trying to build a culture of, hey, in our community here at Geek Devotions, we speak with honor, we speak with grace. I may not like something, but I'm going to speak with grace about it, because that's how we glorify my authority, which is Christ.
Yeah.
And so I'm building that into my community of going, hey, we're not just going to crap storm stuff. We had the opportunity to review some stuff recently, and it was terrible. I mean, craptastic stuff. And we said, no, we're not going to do that, because we don't want to put that out there on our community. We don't want to be known for the people who are just always angry and always just trashing stuff. And so we have to navigate that as a community. Now I give my team liberty to do certain things and to go on some stuff, but they know the limits of what I have for Geek Devotions as a whole, and they respect that on their own. But it's because I'm as the head, I'm building that community. Hasbro has built a community of, we want money, as Mr. Krabs says. And
Well, and John
In
also,
their defense, they've had that culture since the 80s,
man,
that's
true.
fair.
if not before then.
John also points out that they disrespected the community because some of the things that came out was kind of condescending.
Yeah, totally. But again,
Like,
that's a culture that comes
it's
down.
it's the culture that's been set. That's what I was about to,
Mhm. Oh,
to
yeah.
loop
Yeah,
it around.
yeah.
Is that
Mhm.
it's he made a good point, because Wizards of the Coast did do some things that were kind of condescending, and they deeply offended the fans. But it's also because of the culture that's being set in
Mhm.
their offices.
So is that, I imagine, I don't know if this is sort of where you're going with this, but it definitely makes me think of how Jesus, when he's like Last Supper, this is the story that comes to mind. Last Supper, he's with his disciples, and he says, I need to wash your feet. And Peter's like, no, you don't wash my feet, Lord, because that's like the lowest of the low task that even the lowliest slave in the house would do. You wouldn't wash people's feet, because people were walking in poop and dirt and all sorts of things, because it was like the first century.
Donkey's got to go.
Exactly, donkey's gotta go. So cleaning someone's feet was like disgusting, and you didn't. The Savior, the King of the universe, isn't going to do this. But that was Christ saying, no, you need to do this, because I'm essentially, he didn't use these words, but I'm building this culture of you serve, the leader serves others. That's the point of being in charge, because you're here to serve the people that are
totally.
under you. So I think that's why it's so important that he did a lot of the things he did in teaching and in discipling, because if he was just at the top, then there wouldn't be this element to Christendom, or at least Christ followers, of wanting to go out and serve and be sanctified and have grace, and like if Jesus would have, when Jesus came up, if Jesus just like backslapped him and like pummeled him to the ground or something, then we would not have this culture of like forgiving those who wrong you, even if they send you off to your death. Anyway.
No, you hit it. I mean, that's literally was the example that Jesus was making, taking on literally the task of the lowest servant of a household. Like that was the job. of the low. Sometimes the punishment for a servant to wash the camel poop out of people's toes before dinner.
Yep.
And that was the culture. It literally, that was what he was doing, was building that culture.
Yeah.
And I like what you say. Like it's showing grace, showing grace to people, and I think that's something that we've lost as a society as a whole. Is
absolutely.
showing grace and care. We just talked about this on the Midweek Move podcast. I said, and by just I mean the episode that comes out next week, I believe. I've done 4 of them in this past 2 weeks.
He doesn't remember.
But we're talking about we're in First
Well,
Peter.
9,000 podcasts. You can't remember everything.
And in your defense, you are trying to build up a backlog so you can go on break.
True,
Yes.
but we're
Oh yeah.
Starting tomorrow.
we're in First Peter right now, and that was kind of the conversation about. I've just lost where I was going with it now. So
About serving others, having grace with others.
having grace for people, and Peter's telling the early church of like, look, your job is to give an account for why you do what you do. We're not defending the faith. I hate that. I'm a defender of the faith. No, you're not. Jesus can defend himself. But what we are called to do is defend why we do what we do as Christians. Why do we do good when people are attacking? You're doing good. What and you're to give I do good because of XYZ reason. This is what Jesus called me to do. This is who God is in my life. But we're called to do it with respect and with honor for people. And so everything we do, that's the culture Jesus was bringing, was respect and grace for all people, even the people that hate us.
Yeah.
Or people that we're annoyed with because they've done stupid things. We are called to bring gentleness and grace in everything we do.
You know what? And that's interesting because what if one of us, what if we're fired for something we do from a job? Whether it's where we're following.
Sure,
certain
go
people.
ahead and steal my segue.
I was going to give it to you. I was setting it up for you. I was like, Drew, does this sound like something you're familiar with?
Well, I was
and no,
gonna-
fine. whatever.
I'm saying go ahead steal because I was actually going to let you introduce this segment, put it on the thing. So why don't you go ahead and tell us the horrible culture that is at some of these companies
Okay.
for annoying people's free speech.
So there's a company called Limited Run Games. What they do is they will, I think, partner with indie developers or other smaller publishers and create physical releases of games, whether it's physical games for like Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis, Game Boy, things like that. And they release those games, and that's why they're called Limited Run Games. They had hired a community manager. Her name was something. Should have had the story up. Let's see if I can find it real quick.
Might help.
It starts with a K. I know that.
Kelly. Kimberly.
Was it that? I don't think
Cassidy.
so it was something. I'm
Kimberly.
sure she had a name. I
Kit
believe.
Kat.
Carolyn.
Carolyn.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
a C.
I said that.
Carolyn. Actually,
starts with a
it's
K.
K-A-R-A.
Yeah, it starts with a K.
It's Carolyn with a K.
Carolyn. It's a weirdly spelled name.
Anyway, and that's like 2 names. Kara. first
Phenomenal
name,
journalism
Lynn.
says.
Nobody ever said we were journalists.
We're
Speak
just-
for yourself.
We're a bunch
just
of crazy
friends
people
talking.
talking on the internet. That's what we are.
That's not a journalist.
with the exception of Celeste, she's probably normal.
Wow.
Am I?
Thanks.
The-
Am I?
Thanks
the
for
most in the
that.
room right now.
I'll give you that.
Anyway, I have the big window. I'm talking.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, anyways, Celeste is the most normal person.
At the moment.
So she was hired as the community manager, I think back in is pre-pandemic, sometime, in the dark ages before the Empire. In dark times before the Empire. I got that wrong. Anyway, she's working as community manager. So that, for those that don't know, that's something where, for at least for this company and most companies, like if people have a question about like, where's my game? I ordered it. I need a refund. There's a bug here. You reach out to the community managers and they help like field those to the right people and whatnot. So she was doing a lot of social media, things like that. And by all accounts, I listened to her interview. She recently gave an interview about what happened, and she loved the work there. She was happy. She was glad to be doing it. She was glad to be in the gaming industry. She was glad to be there. Then, for whatever reason, I don't know why, this one Twitter person, I think actually the end of this is, she said something about being excited about Hogwarts Legacy. She said something about that. Otherwise, her Twitter, according to her own account, I haven't like verified and looked at her Twitter, but it's a lot of like her pets or her family or places she went or games she's excited about. Just very benign things. Nothing nothing political, nothing like that. She says she's excited about Hogwarts Legacy. And I imagine that was the impetus for this other person that is, I don't know that much about this other person. I'm not going to name them right now, but they apparently decided to go on a crusade to try and get this person fired. So they looked at old Twitter. So what they found, some of the stories you'll report will phrase it like, they found tons of tweets of trans hate or something like that. There's one tweet that said something on the order of, let's see if I can find it. It was fairly benign, but I don't know if I could find it. Let's see. I'm going to try to find it here because I think it's sort of germane to the conversation.
What do the Germans have to do with it?
Germane means it's on topic.
Oh,
there's your vocab lesson for today.
I thought Jermaine was part of the Jackson 5.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Or was that Boyz II Men?
Oh my gosh.
I'm not going to find it. I didn't listen to either one. So.
But then
You know
the band be men's geriatrics.
I am sad that I don't have this up. That is my fault, guys. Hopefully you can forgive me for not having it up and at the ready, all the pertinent details, because I'm not a journalist. But it was one tweet about something. It's probably something on the order of like, I don't know, trans women shouldn't go in men's bathrooms, or I don't know, something like that. It's something just like, okay, it wasn't that all that crazy. Mm-hmm. And then so there's one tweet, and then there was lots of, she follows Libs of TikTok. She follows a journalist that are more like right leaning. I don't know. It's just like it's stuff like that. So because of that, she got a Twitter crusade going against this person and brought up a lot of heat on Limited Run Games. Limited Run Games, the heads said to Kara's managers, we need to fire her. The managers were she said that her managers were working to try like, no, we got to figure out something else. They were trying to keep this from happening, but they couldn't. There was too much pressure apparently. So she was fired. Apparently she got a severance or something, so it wasn't just like completely high and dry, but she got fired because of what this person essentially looked up and made a big hubbub about something that really wasn't much of anything. Come to find out later that there's a lot of shady things in this own person's past, that it's like, so Limited Run Games, you're listening to someone who has some questionable things in their own past, and that's enough to fire this other person. It feels like very much modern witch hunts. That's what it kind of feels like to me. Mm-hmm. Now I know. Well, we're short on time, so I'm gonna hard segue to the spiritual aspect of this. Do you guys? I know that in Leviticus, that's one of the places where they say if there's a witch in your presence or a sorcerer or whatever, you need to kill them, or I forget if it's stone them or kill them or what have you. But do you think is there in like biblical scripture for a witch hunt, like the whole town and trying to find every single person that could be a witch and killing them? I don't, from what my memory of reading the Bible, I don't recall anything like that. But does anything like that come to mind for you guys?
The only thing that I can see people going off with is in the early days of God establishing Israel, he would tell his people that when you conquer a city, you conquer a town, burn it to the ground completely, and don't take wives from those people, because he knew that it would corrupt them in the long run. And that became the whole conversation of not intermarrying with people of a different faith, because he knew that would corrupt his people.
Yep.
That's probably the only thing I can see of in the scriptures as a whole. And I mean, that was what Saul got in trouble for, was because Saul didn't burn the enemy's place to the ground totally. He took things as,
I was about
as
to
his
say,
own rule.
Israel doesn't exactly have a good track record with this particular rule.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They messed up quite a few times. I think in a modern day, it boils down to us not association with certain things, especially if there's stuff that we physically deal with. You know, if somebody invites you to a I don't even know what they call it, but a cauldron, whatever, to do something specifically for black magic reasons, don't do that.
Which is coven?
I guess,
type of
yeah.
thing?
Don't do that.
I don't
you
know.
Don't pull out the Ouija board.
This is AA. You want the coven mean down and
that's what it was. I thought it was at
Doesn't
a Wendy's.
Hasbro sell the Ouija board?
I think they do.
Through one of their companies?
It's all
And,
coming back.
And don't forget, someone looking at old tweets on Twitter is why James Gunn originally got fired from Disney.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's all connected.
But yeah, but I don't think I don't recall anything scripturally that says to do that as a whole.
I know Kevin Joshua Burm says, well, Paul, talking about the Apostle Paul, he was hunting down Christians, but that is more of like, I take that to be, that wasn't God commanding us to do it. It was just something that he chose to do because he thought Christians were a cult. So it was more descriptive than prescriptive.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I didn't think Paul J. Powers had been hunting down anybody.
No, but
my gosh.
yeah, and you're right, Kevin. Paul was kind of doing that, but again, that was under the commandments of authorities who were purposely trying to stamp out Christ and trying to shut down who Jesus is as a whole. In the New Testament time frame, God's never called us to do any such action whatsoever. In fact, he's called us to do the exact opposite of that. When we're with pagans, to go out of our way to show them gentleness and kindness. That doesn't mean that we affirm sinful behavior. It doesn't mean that we go, yeah, that's okay for you to do. But it does mean that we love them where they're at. We encourage them. We point them to Jesus. We develop a proper relationship with them. And we walk them through things. Again, that's that whole aspect of, when they go to you and they go, Francisco, why aren't you raising your kids to do X, Y, Z? Well, because this is how we believe, this is how we're doing it, and you do it respectfully and gently. Unlike some people on the internet who just blow up. Which, by the way, in that same passage of Peter, it tells you that having you suffering because you basically were stupid and lost your mind and acted in the flesh does not bring glory to God. Your response needs to be with gentle and grace. And so, but yeah, that with Paul, that was purely the actions of man put upon him, or the demands of man.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
were you getting to a different question, Francisco? I feel like I went off.
No, I was going to say that I did confirm Hasbro does make the Ouija boards. So just now my Amazon is going to be just, oh, you want Ouija? Here's all the Ouijas. So it's what I do for you, culture boxers. You're welcome.
You're going to have a lot of Luigis on yours?
Or
Yes.
squeegees. He's having squeegees.
Waluigi.
Yeah, Waluigi.
Ouija.
Yes, Ouija. He's green. He wears a green hat. He hangs out with Mario. He's in a movie coming up this year.
But I think these sort of guys, you answered it. That there isn't any sort of, especially living this side of the cross. There isn't any call for us to hunt down people, to persecute them. I mean, we should be thankful when we're persecuted, which that's something like I struggle with. Like, oh my
That's a
gosh,
trip out, man.
if that comes, like, how am I going to actually deal with that? And but I think I don't. I definitely think it's wrong. Actually, I'm just gonna make a value statement. I'm curious what you guys can certainly disagree. I think it was wrong to fire this worker who's doing their job, isn't doing anything wrong in their job, to fire them because of a Twitter mob. What say you guys though? Do you disagree? Do you think there is a time and a place for a Twitter mob to get someone fired?
I don't think there's ever a time for a Twitter mob to be the deciding factor, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you can kind of see the company's point of view. It's very much we're sorry about this, but they're angry at you and we can't have you reflecting us.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna look up. I'm curious if there's any news about if limited run games is like doing worse now. I've heard a lot of people like they won't refund people because so many people are pulling their orders now, and so I feel like this is in the long run going to hurt them. And I think there's something
It's the same thing as the Hasbro situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's some too. If you do I almost want to say if you do what's actually right, like if you do the thing that's good in the short term, you'll have long-term consequences. If you do the thing that's hard in the short term, you'll have good long-term consequences. And that's not like always the case, but I think that's a generalized thing that does happen. So
Yeah.
anyway. Awesome. So that's all I had for that story. That was awesome getting to talk to you guys. I'm sorry I messed up your segue, Drew.
No, you're fine. I just like giving you a hard time, Roy.
Oh my God, you're not right. Francis Gall.
Roy E. Yes, we know.
With the ice skating guy with the Mickey Mouse tattoo.
Well, anyway, we should wrap this up, Drew.
Yeah, I think we should.
Oh my goodness.
Since I've got you on the big screen, you want to tell people where they can find you at, Francisco?
Sure. You can find me at retrorewindpodcast.com. A little bit more active on Twitter and Facebook these days. Paul's the more active on Facebook for sure. But that's at Retro Rewind Pod. We stream on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Also Twitter, but no one really watches from there. All at Retro Rewind Pod. We play retro games. We do a podcast where we review movies and games that are 15 years or older. And check out all those reviews at retrorewindpodcast.com. And so happy to be a part of this Culture Box crew.
All right. Dallas and Celeste, where can we find y'all?
You can find us at geekdevotions.com. That links off to everything we do. We have 5 podcasts
Something like that.
we do. I put a question mark because I feel like
5,000.
keep
5
popping
for now.
new ones up, and I keep going no more podcasts. But and then we also have the YouTube. We have articles that we release. We just dropped a review of an album, a music album that was
Yeah.
written by one of our team. So we
cool.
do a lot of
Nice.
different things.
The review was written by one of our team. The album was not.
Yes.
Oh, I was like, wow,
We're
that's so
thinking-
cool.
Oh no!
You're releasing
I'm
music.
sorry.
That's wow.
One of our team has reviewed an album that someone else
Wrote.
wrote
Oh,
and
okay.
performed.
Geek Devotions the musical is not a thing.
Yet.
Oh, my
John's
goodness.
calm down, John. John's already freaking out. He's like, let's do this.
Oh my word.
Well, and you can find me here, right where you're watching us right now. At the
Here.
on the Cellcast. We review animated movies and TV shows, and yeah, pretty much that. So come join us, hear us talk about cartoons.
Awesome. When will the next Culture Box conversations be, Drew?
Good question. Francisco, when is the next one? because I don't have that in front of me.
Oh, that's because we haven't figured it out yet. But it'll probably be
Probably
Oh yeah,
the-
throw me under the bus, you big bat.
If you
I
say
would say I
on
didn't
live
think we had
stream-
picked a date yet.
it's on your channel, so
It's
you're fair
next
game.
week.
Oh, the
And-
next time it's going to be on your channel. So yeah, when
Oh, yeah,
is it?
exactly. So we have not figured that out yet, but we are trying to do these monthly, guys. So if you enjoy these conversations, please let us know. We enjoy having them. But if there's any stories that you guys want us to cover, you're like, this is a great story. This is a great news story that talks about the elements of story, or this is a news item that talks about comedy in some way, or something that talks about geekery in general, that you think it would be helpful to hear Christians discuss from our point of view, that'd be fantastic. Or that'd be great to hear from you what you want us to discuss. You can contact any of us, and we'll put in our channel that we keep for these for these conversations.
Try to keep it like a story that's like modern though. Don't be like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanna know about this thing called the
Within the last
Reformation.
That's
There's
Yes.
this storytelling happening.
Yeah,
That's
if it,
definitely a conversation for individual streams, not this one.
if it happens between now and
Later.
mid to late February, that's the sweet spot. Look for stories like that. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, we'll probably have the next one late February, maybe early March, because February is a little shorter than most months. But awesome, guys. Thank you. And yeah, thank you everyone who was joining here. Kevin, John, Kirk. Oh, this is your channel, Drew. You do the thank yous.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you, Kevin, John, Kirk. for
Paladin
joining
Pirate.
us. Oh, yeah, Paladin Pirate was in here earlier. Thank y'all for joining us, and I guess that's going to be it for now. So
And Dale. Hi, Dale.
yes,
Hi,
Dale.
Dale.
Dale. Ashley was here
Dale,
too.
Dale did say hi many times. Hi, Dale.
He did.
Yes.
I missed it. I
From
apologize.
all the platforms.
Exactly. So yeah, I guess join us on the next one. So we'll see y'all later.
In the next
In the
frame.
cell.
That's my friend. Catch you in the next frame.
Peace and
Whatever.
love. Like
Love
a Pokemon.